All right. Hello, everybody. If you're in the chat, welcome. Happy MLK Day. This is exciting. This is always a crazy day for us here that, last year and this year. But, we're back and happy to give everybody a bit of a world tour of what we did this year. And if this is the first time you've seen it, this is great. I'm joined by Becky Latov. She's in voice. Say hi.
Hi.
There she is. I'm going to turn her voice up a little bit so she's as loud as I am, and so you hear all the wonderful things that she has to say. Becky is, the power behind this for sure. She makes it all go. And she's able to thankfully join us for the first stream. I'm going to stream again. So if you have to run out, if you have to duck out or take off, I'm going to be back online at 8 o'clock tonight streaming and doing another world tour. If you have questions, while we are streaming, feel free to just throw them in the chat. I also really hope we have, I should wait for that. There we go, switching over. I really hope that we have some teachers and students in the chat. I've been kind of sharing it on Twitter, the last week or so, that, if you have Java Edition, you can join with your class. So if you're here with a class, say hi. Becky is in the chat as well on the Participate channel. Participate is a partner of the of this experience, providing some of the brains and certainly some of the community aspects of the program. And so this is exciting. So again, if you have anything to say, if you have any comments or questions, if you want to ask about, this is our work, Becky and I's work is mainly in the building. So this is definitely like a world tour talking about Minecraft more than it is. There is a guided tour. I don't know if Becky, if you have the link readily available, but I'm sure there's actually still time to sign up for one of the many live tours that are guided tours where they actually talk a lot about there's a really cool guided tour learning experience to go with this whole world, and you can sign up on the LA Works website. There are a couple different time slots. I think one starts in about an hour at 1 o'clock Eastern, but they go all day. So you can absolutely sign up and get the guided tour. There's even a quiz. One of the cool things we've added is a bit of a fun little interactive game element to the world. But this has turned into a pretty cool world and learning experience. We're gonna follow the yellow line throughout this world and kind of just chat about it. Is there anything that you want to share at the moment, Becky? Or we're good, or what? What are you thinking?
Just wondering if anybody's having any issues hearing your audio, because it was a little bit staticky at some points.
Oh, okay. Well, if someone says everything looks normal on my end, so I'm gonna turn your volume up even more though. So there we go. All right, cool. So yeah, we added these. These are new. So one really cool feature I love in this world is these boards. The boards have like random information, random facts. As I'm sure you can guess, there's a lot of add-ons and plugins involved in this build. This is one of them. It's a plugin that basically pulls a Google slide deck and puts it on a board like this. So these are really, really cool, and these are all throughout the world. So there's super interesting facts all over the place. There you can see them, and some of them are double-sided. But there's the link, actually. That's great. There's the link. go.participate.com/MLK2022. That gives you the chance to join the Participate community that LA Works has. This is where the conversations continue. So, I think it's important to note that you know, even though we have an MLK Day, I think it's important to keep talking and remembering, why we're talking about what we're talking about, and what we need to keep doing to make society more equitable. And so those conversations are ongoing at that link there, go.participate.com/MLK 2022. You can just go there and join that community. I think this is another board here. Oh, this wasn't here last year. This is very good. Washington, D.C. sits on the ancestral and unceded home of the Anacostan. I'm not going to be able to say all of these properly, so I'm not going to. Much like Dr. King, LA Works looks toward creating and maintaining an exclusive community that represents equity, fairness, and justice. We have a responsibility to recognize the greater systemic framework that supports the legacy of colonialism and white supremacy. LA Works is committed to going beyond this land acknowledgement to partner with indigenous peoples and organizations, and we invite you to do the same. Amazing. That's really good. Really, really cool.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's funny how many times I've been I spent like half the day yesterday sanding literally right here, and didn't notice. I mean, I probably noticed the board, but I didn't notice that I didn't probably go over to it and see it loaded. So that's great. So you'll notice that there are NPCs. There are actually NPCs all over the world. And you'll notice that they are there's some names that you're probably familiar with. There's hopefully there are some names you're not familiar with. That's kind of the goal. So there are some really great folks here, and when you click on the names, they speak to you. They tell you a little bit of their story. You can actually not see it because my camera is covering it, but there's you can see it a little bit in the bottom right hand corner or left hand corner. There's a dialogue, and these dialogues were written by the LA Works team. They're really great. There's tons of great information about all of them. These are all custom skins. Do you know, Becky, how many custom skins are in the world? How many skins did we make?
Like most of these were made last year for the main NPCs that have been around the world. We did add some new NPCs this year in a new region where we built another building. But this is, I think, something like 170 or 180 that are all custom, unique people that we wanted to have to be part of the historical figures and modern day activists that we wanted to have included in the world. So those have all been custom made by LA Works and volunteers. All of their dialogue was researched carefully to provide information about their impact. So all of that was, and each one usually has about 3 cycles of dialogue that randomly pop up.
Yeah, no, it's great. So we added some new ones. We'll show you them later. As a Canadian, I will have to mention Jagmeet Singh is in the world, which is great. He's my man. He's the leader of one of the political parties in Canada. Super great leader when it comes to social justice in Canada. And in particular, super well known for standing up for Indigenous issues with our First Nations people. So obviously a big fan of him. But you can see Michelle Obama's here, RBG. One of the, just now that I see RBG in gray, which makes me sad, obviously. But one of the things that we did that's interesting is the folks, the people who are no longer with us are in grayscale. So you'll notice that everyone else is in color, but there are definitely some grayscaled NPCs in the world. So this is the White House.
The grayscaling was done on the ones who were very integral in the original march.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a bunch of those, especially as we get to the Lincoln Memorial, which is where the actual March on Washington was. You'll see a lot of grayscale NPCs. So this is the White House. I feel pretty good about it. It was a tough build.
It's gorgeous.
I feel okay. It was a lot of work. This is probably the
All of it was a lot of work.
Yeah, all of it was a lot of work. This is called the Kennedy Garden. I believe I found that out, and it's quite nice. There's a whole like part of the west or part of the White House that is very arboretum-ish, right in actually inside the store. At least in some versions of it, there's been quite a lot of plants and gardens. We did a very tried to do as close to a traditional kind of rose garden as the rose garden is. So anytime you see like a big speech that's outside the White House, this is where generally those are. The president, the Oval Office is right here. And there's a couple doors, but there is a door. Should have probably built the door, but there's usually a door like right here, and then the president will walk down the hall a little bit and come out and the podium would kind of be like here, and then there'd be seats and stuff like that. So when they do like Supreme Court justices and stuff like that, and whenever you see like those photo ops of presidents or whoever walking down like a hallway with the pillars, that's almost always right here, walking down this hallway here from the residence. So the residence is the piece in the middle, right? So this is the residence, and then they're walking down the what's called the portico, and walking down, and this is where President Biden would walk this way and then walk this way to the Oval Office every day. So the Oval Office is right here. One of the things that I didn't know, Becky, and we talked about this a little bit last year, that was kind of fun to learn, was that the White House has a swimming pool, and it's like right outside the Oval Office. So how cool would that be, Becky? Just there's a door. We didn't build it, but there's a door in the tree area here, and this is like a whole, like really sneaky oasis. There's like trees all around it. There's only one gate, and there's a pathway that goes right to the Oval Office. So it's all pretty cool. We didn't build like the tennis courts or anything like that. There's a couple other interesting buildings in the actual White House grounds. Maintenance buildings and stuff like that. But the pool was fun. I thought it'd be fun to build the pool. So there we go. We have the pool. And there's obviously lots of security gates, little checkpoints like this. There's them at the entrances all across the area. The entrance on the front side, the side that you would normally see from the fence. So there's if you see pictures of the White House, you'll generally see a picture when tourists are visiting from here, which is the fence and the front yard. And then there are definitely big security. There are security gates and stuff at the front entrance as well. But we tried to make this front entrance look as good as possible as well. And there's lots of great. It's a great building here. So much fun. So that's the White House. Really great build. It's funny, I remember the yellow line was a pretty last minute addition to last year's experience. We added it late, but I actually think it's great. It reminds me of IKEA, right? Where you follow the yellow line.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out which server you're on.
I believe I'm on 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my thing isn't updating to show that, so I'll jump in there.
All right, so as you can see, again, there are boards kind of everywhere. I'll pause and give you a chance to read them a little bit. Again, if you have any questions, thoughts, if you're watching in the chat, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm happy to answer or punt to Becky to answer. One of us can definitely answer. This is the Smithsonian, the Black History Museum. Is that what it's called? African American History Museum. Right?
Yep.
And there we go. So we have.
Sorry, I'm just getting on there.
No, you're good. We have a bunch of
There you go.
we have a bunch of great NPCs here. There's a lot of NPCs that I love that we did bell hooks all lowercase. That's so smart. Whoever remembered to do that is smart. Lizzo. So we did a lot of these skins. So a lot of these skins are what I actually love is that we added hundreds of skins to like the skin lexicon of Minecraft in this build. What's up, Matrixcraft? Welcome in. Good to see you. We added, so all of these skins didn't exist. Many of these skins did not exist before. And they're all accessible. They're all on, what's that website? Minecraftskins.com?
I think it's .net.
Minecraftskins.net. So
I think they had to use a different site to make a few of the last ones, though.
it's pretty amazing. So all of these skins, so you can go and import the Lizzo skin and use it as your character. Now we added easily a couple hundred skins to the lexicon, including, bell hooks. So there she is. Pretty great. Like Becky said, a lot of these were done last year, but regardless, there are a few new ones, and they're all really great. The one thing that I'm a regret, though, it has a lot to do with just time and how much effort it takes to do stuff like this, and also the scale, is that a lot of the interiors are not done. It's very hard to build interiors that match the same quality as the scale from the outside. So a lot of the many interiors are not complete. But here we are, African American History Museum. It's pretty nice.
Got a sign over here, I think, that's related to it, so people can find a resource guide about it.
There you go. National Museum of African American History and Culture. I've said it wrong like 5 times. African American History and Culture. Awesome. So you can take a screenshot of that if you want to go check out that URL. But there's obviously tons of information all throughout this world. So we added the beacons this year too. The beacons are great as a little reminder. That was Becky's idea, as most of them are, to make sure that you stop at points of interest. So here we go. The Washington Monument. It's obviously huge. I will go all the way up just to show you.
Right?
Why wouldn't you? Just to show you that we did point it, as you should. Obviously, you can see some of the beacons. You can see at least 2 of the beacons from up here. And there we go. It's a long way down. A lot of the NPCs here are kind of cultural NPCs. So you can see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar right there. Dwayne Wade. Trevor Noah, lots of them. A lot of great NPCs. And again, LeBron James, they all have stories. And again, these skins are all accessible. So if you wanted to be, LeBron James in Minecraft, you can pull this skin. We've made it for you. LeBron has a story. Some of them are really quite. This is a great skin. What a great looking skin with the flower in the hair. Great job. We had a huge number of volunteers last year spend their time building these skins. And those are all actually I should. So the flags were fun too. I remember the actual day that we did this. One of the things that is worth noting to folks is that in particular, and we'll get to it, especially when we get to the Capitol, but it's hard to overstate the amount of time we spent, especially on small details, like literally trying 4 or 5 different things to figure out what makes the best flagpole. Making
and there are lots of flags, as you can see. So
yeah, and then like for example, like literally poring over Google Maps to make sure that the seating arrangement of these benches is in the right spot. And you'll notice that there are 3 benches on each side on this side and a continuous bench on each side on the other side, and that is exactly the way it is in the real world. That's the kind of effort we put into this, folks.
the Capitol building was full of that too.
Joan Baez and Bob Dylan are both folk musicians who performed at the 1963 March on Washington. I think that's true. Let's go. Hey. Nice. Hopefully someone who's going to do the quiz later, I didn't spoil it for you. So you stand over top of the pressure plate, firework goes off. That was Jassie's idea. We should give credit to Jassy Ross. He is he's an employee, one of the staff at LA Works, kind of like the what would he be called? The executive in charge of all of this. And that was his idea. Credit to Jassy. I don't know if he's watching or not. They've got a lot going on, by the way. This isn't just the only thing happening with LA Works today. There's a lot going on. So if you go to I think it's laworks.com/MLK, you can check it out. There's a lot of other stuff, but there's Becky, there's me, and there's the whole list of team members who worked on this both last year and this year to make all of this happen, including some Twitter hashtags or Twitter handles. So if you want to follow myself or Becky or Janie Laney, who's a great Minecraft streamer in her own right, and she streams on Facebook, you can check out Janie. And there's a lot of great help here. Lots of folks. So there you go, Washington Monument. All right, so there's people here now too. There were definitely not always people here. I don't know how I didn't even notice that either.
There were some.
Really?
Yeah.
Even last year?
I think we had a smaller number. Actually, yeah, I remember going through these this past week to work on some settings with them. So they were here last week. It's not all brand new.
There you go. There's a Bob Dylan skin. That's pretty
I don't
skin. That's pretty
many,
cool.
though, so it might have been changed this year.
There you go. So this is the World War II memorial. This was a very difficult build.
It was fun, though.
Well, okay.
You remember how we shifted it? Didn't we have to shift it over?
Well, yeah, it was all off center.
was fun.
Yeah. So one of the cool, interesting, if you've never been to Washington, on these white pieces here is every state and territory in the United States at the time of the building of the memorial. And then there's this side is to commemorate the like the Eastern Front, and then the other side is to commemorate the Western Front, I believe, if I remember correctly. This is a really cool addition. This was Becky's idea. Just some some fancy command block action to get the water to look like waterfalls. This is super cool. I really love getting the water
Turned out beautiful.
Getting the water to spill over the side in just the way that it doesn't overflow this pool, but literally looks like a waterfall. It's so nice.
It's amazing being able to do something, something so beautiful justice in Minecraft. Because it's a challenge sometimes.
I think I know Jojo, but I'm not sure if he's the same person on the credits there. I'm not sure. These squares are not in exactly the same configuration as they are in the in the real world. It was pretty difficult to get them, but they do look fantastic. Really happy with this build. We also one of the things that's kind of like, I don't know, this is like a small thing, but I think it's big, is putting a dark brick underneath the water to make sure that water looks even, and there is a bit of a dark brick underneath it. So that's the World War II memorial. Again, we got some flags on each side. It's pretty great. Then you got obviously the
this is the pathway for the march, so you're starting to see more grayscale NPCs, and they're actually on both sides.
Yep, I'll go up further and they should all pop in. There you go. So you can see and I believe we replaced made sure that the material underneath the pool was all the same as well, so there's no different coloration underneath the water. All right.
You mentioned on this stream that this world was generated from a map, and then we had to clean it up.
Yeah, so I don't have it all revealed, but this is actually the scope of the world, or at least the area of the experience. So we were at the White House, and then you can see the path goes down here to the museum, to the Washington Monument, to the World War II Memorial. Then we've ran down here to Lincoln Memorial, and we're gonna go over here last. This is a special thing. We'll do that at the end. But this is Lincoln. So this is another, when we're talking about like builds, one of the things that you'll notice if you ever just go to Google Maps and look at the Lincoln Memorial, it is significantly smaller inside of this turning circle than our Lincoln Memorial. Our Lincoln Memorial, as you can see, is huge. It fills basically the entire circle. It had to, because if it did not, then we wouldn't have been able to make it, in the scale that we made it, to make it an experience that you can actually view. So outside, so this is kind of a really, feature aspect of the build. The Lincoln Memorial is obviously where the speeches were for the March on Washington. And what we did is all of the NPCs that were on the stage or in the general stage area are all up here. And you can see there's a lot of them, including John Lewis, who was, a lot of people don't realize that John Lewis was, a young man during the March on Washington, but very active, in the event. Some actors, Jackie Robinson is up here, Sammy Davis Jr., who the kids might not know, but a very talented singer. Performer. So that's all of the the skin's not popping in on us, but and then inside this is we created some NPCs for the organizations that supported the March on Washington, so those are all represented here. And then this was Mark who helped us with the server technology during the first year. It was his idea to get these speeches, the actual text onto the board. Super great. It looks amazing. Couldn't imagine it any other way. Up here, this is actually a mural. We obviously can't, we couldn't pull it, but there's the Gettysburg Address on one side and the inauguration on the other, and so they were pretty great. I really love how this turned out. Should we tell
a little updating on the images in there and
yeah.
Things up a bit. So, let's see. Did you want to go check out the MLK Memorial? I put a couple of extra little things in there.
Ooh.
Nothing big, but just, nice touches. This plugin that we use to be able to display the Gettysburg Address and the second inaugural address are actually things that we accomplished with a plugin called Bannerboard, but then we needed to get a newer one. So Image Maps has been working great, and we've used that to be able to portray some statues on a building that we haven't killed yet. Some, all of these signs that we have throughout the world that have the quizzes. There's lots of different things that we're using it for.
This is one of I love the Korean War Memorial. It's so great. If you've been here, you know what this looks like in real life. There are lots of like bushes, high bushes and pebbly areas inside here, and then there are statues of soldiers, and they're in like chrome or some sort of metal. And so we basically used armor stands and iron armor to represent them. It looks really, really good. All right, so we're following the path. Again, there's signs all throughout the world along the path. And here is the Martin Luther King Memorial. And there are folks all through here as well.
In his I Have a Dream speech, he talks about a stone of hope, and so what this structure is supposed to be is a mountain, and then the stone of hope, like out of a mountain of despair, a stone of hope, and so that statue, that's my attempt at copying the statue in Minecraft, which is really awesome. but looks like the image off to the side. I thought it would be a nice touch to put an image of the actual statue in there, and those quotes that were on the Stone of Hope.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Beautiful.
I was just noticing my resource pack messed up your trees.
It's okay.
In a normal resource pack, these glass blocks would be clear and you wouldn't even see them.
Those are actually barrier. Oh wait, they are glass blocks. You're right. They're really neat because they're kind of like a pink stained glass.
Here, hold up. I'll switch over just so they can appreciate the trees because the trees are amazing. There we go. Look how great these trees look, folks. So these are Becky's. These trees are all Becky. They look amazing. She made probably how many? About 8 or 9 of them by hand.
Yeah, something like that. And then I just copied them and rotated them and pasted them around this area. So I have like a few different models, and I just put them in different rotations and pasted.
So these cherry trees look so great. And they're all in the area. Really love it. I'm gonna change back now.
Yeah, I like that one too. But when I'm building, I try to keep it in the very, very basic mode so that I know what most people are going to see. If there's new people who are looking, the first time, yeah, there's a lot of great packs.
All right. My phone was playing music for some reason, which was so strange. I couldn't understand. I don't think anyone heard it, but I certainly heard it. All right. So there we go. MLK Memorial. Let's continue down the path. You can see some more of those great trees. They don't look half as good with my texture pack. It's funny. We should share about the water and how the water was all like messed up in the map.
Yeah, that was fun.
And now the water's beautiful. But there was some like little mountains in the water, little hills in the water, and
well, the biggest thing was there were like large rectangular chunks that were either dropped down too low or too high, and the surface of the water wasn't flat. So I had to do a lot of world edit to clean that up. This bridge that you just went over was also a mess.
Yeah.
So generating a map is really helpful for getting the scale of things, the distance they are apart, and just a general footprint of the buildings, but there's just so much work to be done to clean it up after that.
I should mention now that we're here, the Holocaust Museum is really one of the only kind of outside of the whole realm of the tour buildings that we even remotely have done. And it would be interesting. I say it every year. I've said it both years. It'd be cool to be able to find the time to keep working on it, but there we are. So yeah, you can see a lot of the Smithsonian's aren't complete except for the one that the one that Becky did. This whole area over here looks so good. This building is absolutely incredible.
It's the first one I ever did by myself, and it took forever because there's no symmetry.
Becky cheats. I'm the masochist of this group. I'm the one that builds everything singularly by hand. And Becky is amazing with world edit.
I just figured somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. It's true.
Somebody's got to learn this thing. Yeah, that building you're looking at, I can't remember the name of it. Something for industrial arts. I can't remember. Anyway, that one was super symmetrical, very easy to just build in no time.
You build one corner and then you flip it around and you do that 4 times and you got a building. It looks great. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a little garden over here that is really nice.
Oh, yes, my sculptures.
Yeah.
You can't really do that much with such a small scale, but I tried.
It's tough.
It's fun. Oh, and the Hirshhorn Museum. That big round one. And then this is you're coming up on the National Air and Space Museum.
Did a little bit inside that just for fun, right?
Yeah, my son did a little bit in there. He just wanted to put something in that main entrance.
Is the Apollo lander.
It's a really good experience to realize how hard it is to build the interior.
Yeah, it's almost impossible, to be honest. Like, unless you're actually like when you're building stuff like this, you got to start with the interior in mind. Like you have to build almost like the interior, like the scale. So I can talk a little bit about, once we get to the Capitol building, because I think that's the best example. But how to start a big building like this, it's all about scale and comparison. So we're getting really close to the Capitol building here. So there's the what do they call that? The reflecting pool. And then here we are with kind of probably the most major building of the whole build is the Capitol building. Now with copper.
Real copper.
Real copper on the roof, folks. There's a bluish green wood. That is what we used last year. In between last year and this year, obviously 1.17 and 1.18 were released, and in that time, copper was introduced as a material. So we've replaced anything that was that wood with copper, which is excellent. Some of my very favorite pieces of this build are these lamp posts. We probably spent 2-ish, maybe 3 hours just playing around with lamp posts.
We had some different models in the back too, different types of lamps.
And then the lamps, the hanging lamps look amazing, stunning.
I think one of the things that I learned by working on this building was how important it is to exaggerate things, like little ledges and things, because when you're standing, far away from it, you need that where it just looks way too flat.
Yeah, you have to put like emphasis in things like, so a good example might be the windows, these little, using these stairs in the corners, just kind of and these stairs in these corners here make it kind of all stand out. And these little lips going from one floor to the other, make everything stand out.
To use too.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a lot of buildings that we had to model are like that. We'll have multiple types of. Oh, that's someone else. They have multiple types of. Oh, is that me? Maybe. No, that's not me.
It's someone else.
On the team.
The
in the LA work scene.
yeah, the other thing that's funny, and this is one of the interesting, like this whole space is a little bit wonky in that if you've been to Washington D.C., you know that this actually ramps down into an entrance. There's actually an entrance under the ground right here, and these are actually skylights to a visitor center. The visitor center is underground. One of the things when we were doing our research for this build, one of the things that we realized, or one of the things that's super interesting, is that right up until the late 80s, this was a parking lot. So this whole area, people would like park who worked at the Capitol building. Hey, Professor Eric, welcome in. Good to see you. So people would literally just drive right in here. There was a gate, and people would drive up and park right in this area. It was all a big parking lot. It's really, really interesting. Now it's obviously not a big parking lot. So let's, if you're interested in how we build something like this or how we detail something like this, I can tell you exactly, because I remember. I mean, a lot of this stuff that we did, both Becky and I did it for the first time, so there was definitely a lot of learning involved, and we were given a very rough scale model of the Capitol building. No detail. It was rough. I don't know if I have a picture of it somewhere. I might have a picture in like a folder of like the way that it looked.
And also it was placed backwards.
And it was, and it was backwards.
And it just needed to be flipped around and cleaned up a lot, because it was actually I think it was too low into the ground, so we had to dig it out, figure out where all of the boundaries of it are, and then shift it upward and flip it around 180 degrees.
So there's an example of the rough version of the White House, and then here's the example of it finished. So you can see, how much detailing had to be done to get it to even look, passable. I don't have the rough image of the Capitol building. I'm sure I have one somewhere, but not on me. But there you go. That's so what we did. I actually started with these gardens on this side. I literally just tried to figure out the spacing from like here to the wall, and then how big these should be, and then I built these out. And then how far the space should be from here to the stairs, and then and because you have to start somewhere, you start with just like one little piece, and then the scale goes from there. So once you lock down a scale, and that's how you get, and then you can actually, I think I streamed this whole process, but it's from like obviously about a year and 2 months ago, but I figured out the scale of this, and then down to the stairs, and then we just basically worked our way across and around, and then Becky, we flipped it around. Becky worked on this front bit a lot.
There was contouring the land to fit the right height of the building too.
Yeah, we had to do some grooming.
I mean, I had to build a garden, so I figured it out.
So we had to do the grooming so that we could build the walls. Yep. So there we go. That's the Capitol building. I'm pretty proud of it. It was a ton of work. All in on the Capitol building, we were probably 30-ish hours, maybe a little bit more. It was the biggest part of the project, for sure. Those copper roofs look great now, though. There's a whole stream. I think it took me like 5 or 6 hours just to build the rotunda, to detail the rotunda. And then it's obviously, you can see inside we lit it up pretty aggressively. so that when it's night. Here, let's do that. Let's do that. Can you change it to night?
Oh, hold on a second. This is the let's see which server this is.
1.
I thought it was
Isn't it time? Can we just do time set?
sorry. I'm
night?
just making sure they're not using it for anything right now.
Oh, we're fine for a couple seconds.
I think it's the dev, so it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, it looks really nice lit up at night.
So there's the server at night. It does look pretty gorgeous. So there's light coming from each window and from the rotunda. Oh, I think there's a noon, right? Time set noon. There we go. So there's the Capitol building. And then we make our way up the path again. Couple of buildings that are slightly finished, at least, you know, proper brick colors. I actually would love to know, and I don't think I've ever asked you, how the how this building up here got its detailed entrance.
Let me see. I think I'm close to it.
Am I going the right way still? I am.
Oh, how it got its detailed entrance.
Yeah,
that
did
was
you
neat.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, I was starting to work on it and trying to get as much done as I could before we launched last year. I had, you know, I was just volunteering. I had just left the classroom last year when this project was really starting to roll. So, yeah, I had time, and this year I didn't, so I couldn't go back and fix that one. We had other things to do.
Our friend Brad Schreffler helped us a little bit with this one. All right, so at the end of the tour, it takes us down here. And this is I think the only like dramatic diversion from the way the world actually looks. And that's that.
The tour before this, though, takes you to another location.
Where does it go? Does it take you to the... Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to do that at the end.
Okay.
I can do it now. Let's do it now.
It doesn't matter. You can do it any way you want. You're the boss.
It's true. I'm going to warp to Little Rock 9. So, I told you that there was a space. So this is like the major addition to the world this year. And that's we built the Little Rock High School in Arkansas, which is great. This was the site of some pretty contentious segregation / desegregation, school segregation issues in the 60s, and tells the story of the Little Rock Nine, which is a group of students, and they're all here, I believe, and again with their own skins. And tell their stories. So you can talk to them and learn their stories as well.
Yeah, I think this was a great addition.
It's beautiful. Becky saved the day on this. I was struggling.
World Edit saved the day.
Wow.
World Edit.
It was tough. It was a tough.
Once you get a pattern, it's so hard. It really is just to get the scale right. And you did like with this the steps, really helped to figure out what the scale of this project needed to be, and then after that it was just coming up with the patterns for the windows, and they're all different sizes and different widths, and then getting those 45-degree walls. That was fun, but, yeah. I think even harder than getting the 45-degree walls was filling the roof between them, because you can't just, if you do a whole layer, it's like a flat, you're gonna do like a rectangle, and you're gonna go over it. So I had to go through larger chunks or smaller chunks and fill it in a bit at a time. But it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's a great addition.
Yeah.
It's kind of standalone, so to get here you can't fly from Lincoln to the area. You have to do the warp. It's just warp Little Rock 9 in our warps list. And it's its own kind of enclosed space. But it's really quite nice. It is special. It's incredibly difficult build. It took me just to do, Becky was saying, this front steps, because again, just like we were talking about the Capitol building, figuring out the scale is like one of the hardest parts, if not the hardest part.
We didn't have anything generated. It was like flat land, so this was even harder.
There was nothing here. Like in the Capitol building in White House, we had like a base scale building.
Everything had at least those blocks, those white quartz blocks that tell you the shape of it, the size, at least the height, just a general estimate. And this was just nothing, so it was hard.
Yeah,
I can understand why it took a while for you just to get those steps put in and figure out how this was going to work.
Almost 5 hours to go from these steps here, and then up and up to these steps here. Basically, just the front stairs. But like Becky said, scales everything, and it sets the table for the rest of the build. And it's hard because if you screw up the scale, nothing works. Nothing works. It doesn't build right. It doesn't. So question: how do you balance the scale with the aesthetics? So it's mostly, I literally, and this actually is a stream you can go back and look at because it was just like a month or so ago. But you can see me literally just here looking at, whether this was 4 blocks wide or 5 blocks wide as it compares to this being, I believe this is 8 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But if this was like 4 blocks wide and this was 2 blocks wide, then everything up here would have been completely different and crunched, and it wouldn't have been the right size.
Your pack also is changing the wood.
Oh yeah, to look like actual wood in a real outside, when I remove my resource pack, this actually looks even better. It looks even better because the brick looks almost exactly, I can't believe it, to be honest. It looks so good. Oops. That brick color is almost dead on. So pretty happy with the way that this brick color turned out. This is what most people will see. So Eric, it's really tough. It's like the hardest part, and it's really stressful, to be honest, because that if you screw it up, and if it's too small or too big, like, to be honest, if it's too wide, it'll mess up the scale, because it sounds weird, but the width of this stairway absolutely dictates the width of these doors in a weird sort of way, because everything you once you figure out the scale for one thing, you just balance that forward to everything else, and it's all a relative scale from wherever you start. So
I think, like, to start with the scale, maybe you have to think about how tall the player is, and then try to
that too.
maybe go a little bit bigger than that with your design.
Yeah,
So
you
that
have
can
to.
put in enough detail, but not too big.
Yeah, like I'm walking just on the ground, and obviously the school is not like, these steps are halfway up the body height of the player. So from it's actually almost exactly the way you just described it. It's not dramatically larger than the person, but it's larger. Did you want to talk about these? The statues?
Oh yeah, we have statues we turn into images that we could put on the building, because it's really hard to capture statues unless you're just using armor stands. So yeah, we took the images and cleaned them up so that they would show the right color and put them on there. They're all symbolizing different things. I think one was ambition. What were the other ones?
So ambition, personality, opportunity, and preparation.
Preparations.
There you go. So that's the Lil Rock 9 build. I love that it's in this now. It was a great idea. That was an idea from the LA Works team. They came up with that, and they even prepped us for that really well, thankfully, because I think they knew it was a scratch build as opposed to.
Yeah, actually, I think that heavy work on Barrett's part. So
yeah.
Big shout out to him for coming up with all that research to support us.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
And you can actually see in the stream from a month ago where I'm in it, you can see me looking through a slide deck. And actually, at one point, I was able to put the slide deck on the screen at the same time so people could see me flipping through the images. But Barrett compiled probably 20 or 30 pictures of the whole space, so that we could get a really good look at it. So
the reason why I think that was helpful is the building hasn't really changed too much from the time when the integration of schools happened. It did actually, the grounds around it and some additions onto the building did. So we wanted to have that accurate. So that was a big, huge help.
Yeah. So I warped back to the end of the tour, and this is the only thing that we dramatically changed in the world itself. We in the real world, there is this area here. There's a room. It's obviously attached to the museum, but it's under the ground and only slightly visible from above ground through. But we wanted to actually give people an opportunity to go down there and look at it. So it's also one of the only kind of sort of interiors that we've built, and it's kind of a reflection pool. So there's a waterfall and some quotes on the wall, and this is the way this looks. It's pretty good.
Walls are actually copper.
There it is, copper walls.
Like, they're not built with copper in the game because we originally did it with sand.
Right.
And so I think I messed around with this room trying to get the lighting to look just right to get that orangey glow that you have when you go in that room. It's a really beautiful room.
It is. So that's the last space. Now the only other thing that if you again laworks.com/MLK, if you do decide to join a tour, a guided tour, you're actually invited at the end. There is only one space in the entire world that is buildable, and it is right over here. So just off from the ellipse, right here. And in this space, we invite our participants, the people who join us for the guided tour, they're invited to come and build a reflection of whatever they would like to build. So that will be happening today as we start to welcome people to the experience here. Literally any minute now. So I would invite anyone who is interested in getting that guided tour to do that, to head over to laworks.com/MLK and sign up. And I think I can probably copy, this other text. There you go. There are actually other time slots that are probably still available. So you just there's a drop down to select a time slot, and I think you can choose from multiple, and there might be room in other spaces. But I would encourage you to go and take a look at that, and potentially get a guided tour. It's pretty great. So there we go. I think we're done. We've been over an hour. I'm late for my meeting. But I hope that, you enjoyed the world tour, and had a good opportunity to see the world. And I really do hope you go visit laworks.com/MLK and take advantage of, some of the resources and learning and materials that they have, and go.participate.com/MLK 2022 or MLK 22 is the link to join the Participate LA Works community, to continue having important conversations about civil rights and social justice, that we still obviously all need to keep having, basically all the time. Especially in these days, as we know that there are some really important votes coming up in the U.S. government, related to voting rights and civil rights. Now more than ever, it's important to understand what all of these folks that we try to commemorate here worked for, and that they worked so hard to get us to the position where people can vote freely and have opportunities, and so go and get some education, learn something, take that guided tour. It's really interesting. And Becky, as always, you're amazing, incredibly talented, and wouldn't have been able to do any of this without you, as you know.
It's fun working on this with you.
And I don't know if we're going to end up doing it. I don't know if we're going to end up doing it next year or not. But we will always have 2022. So thanks everybody for joining us. Look at that. I'm getting Teams messages because everyone's wondering where I am for the meeting. I'm joking. They all know I'm doing this. But anyways, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Be sure to follow me on Twitch if you're not already. I do stream Minecraft builds and have some ideas for some future builds on other streams. I'm kind of thinking through some ideas, and need to get my butt streaming again, because I do enjoy it when I do it. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Becky.
Thanks for having me.